Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1923 French silent film Roue, or as it is translated into English, The Wheel. Hey, let's try to wipe away those frowny, sad, confused faces. This is going to be a great review. Now, Roue stars Severin Maurice as Sisyphe, Ivory Close as Norma, and Gabriel de Giovanni as Ellie, and was directed by Abel Gance, who also directed Napoleon, which I will also have to watch because I am trying to get through the 1001 movies you must see before you die in chronological order, and I'm using whatever edition of the book this is. Now, those three stars of the movie lead incredibly tragic lives. I want to say two of them lead flawed lives, but it's kind of hard to argue for that, and it's also hard to argue against that. This is a very complicated, complex movie, I would say. It is very deep. It is incredibly well acted. Cinematography is dazzling. It is amazing. There are parts of the plot that I don't agree with. There's definitely ways that Norma is treated in this movie that I 100% do not agree with. She's probably, I think a lot of people would argue maybe Sisyphe is the most tragic character in this movie. I would say it's Norma because she is the one person in this movie who has unconditional family love towards her family. She is the one person who I think is the most innocent person in this movie. She is not after anything for herself. She is completely selfless, I would say, and she is a character who is constantly being treated poorly, and especially at the middle to end of the movie, and she doesn't know why. It's never the audience knows why. She doesn't know why, but she also doesn't ask why she's being treated poorly. She just tries to give all the love and affection that she can towards her family, and I absolutely love it. So in the beginning of this movie, we have Sisyphe, who is going to be the father of Norma and Ellie. Now, he is an amazing engineer. He is one of the best trained engineers in all the land. He is like the master of the wheel. The wheel means a lot of different things in this movie, but he is the master of the wheel on the engine. And in the beginning of the movie, there's a very tragic scene where two trains collide, and after the collision, a little girl who is like a toddler is in the rubble, no parents around her. It is just assumed that her parents have died. Sisyphe is there. He has a son who is around the same age named Ellie, so he decides to take this girl under his wing as his daughter, as a sister for Ellie, and they are going to grow up to be one happy family with no weird stuff. Right? That's what you think. So there's this, it's never really argued in this movie. It's never really talked about. But this movie, to me, in the middle, towards the end, it really begs the question, if you have someone who you take in as a child, like he took in Norma, is that person really considered your daughter if it's not blood related? Is it considered your sister if she's not blood related? Or is she just someone you took in to help out? Now, she never knows that she's adopted. She never knows throughout this movie that she was taken in by this family. She believes throughout the entire movie that this is her real father, this is her real brother, that they are blood related. She had no reason to believe that she had any other family. She grew up with this family. This is what she knew. And so I say that because later in the movie, you start to get this feeling. So after this crash scene, we go to like present time. Well, it's hard to say present time, then later there's going to be like a future time, but we're sort of at a time when they're adults. The two children are adults. Now, Sisyphe is going through a very hard time in his life, a very dark time, where you could tell he's spiraling down this really bad path. He's very depressed. He kind of is off in his own world a lot, but he also seems like he's very concerned about Norma. And my thought process at this point in the movie was Norma seems like she is has a very tight relationship with her brother Ellie. Now, you can tell Ellie has a thing for Norma in this movie. You can tell that he is in his older age. He's probably 18, 19. I say older age, but he's like an adult here. He is someone who makes violins, but he like is trying to make this varnish for the violin that is like going to be the best varnish in the world. It's going to make him a lot of money. It's going to make him a millionaire. He's going to be the greatest varnish violinist guy ever. And he says at one point in the movie, he says like, one day I'll have all this money, Norma, and you and I will be set for life and we'll be able to be together. So there's hints that he likes her, that he has some feelings for her, but this is his sister, so it's not like he can pursue any of these feelings. Now, also in the movie, there's this older gentleman. In real life, he's 21 years older than the character who plays Norma, and I'm assuming that's how old he's supposed to be in this movie compared to her too, because he does seem like he is very much older, and he has money. He seems like he is a rich, well-off person, and he is head over heels for Norma. He constantly is asking her for her hand in marriage. She is constantly telling him no, she does not want to get married. And then one day we finally find out why Sisyph is going through these dark patches in his life, is going through this depression in his life. He opens up to this guy who is trying to date Norma because they're friends and he knows him. And he says, look, I'm going to tell you the story about Norma and who she is. I adopted her as a child after this train crash. She is not blood related to us. She is someone who I just took in because she didn't have a family. And now that she's older and she's an adult, I am head over heels in love with her. And I don't know how to tell her that she's not really my daughter. And this is the part in the movie where I had to pause the movie and take pause, because that line really irked me a lot. Because yes, she is your daughter. You raised her, you took her in, you're all she knows as a father. She is your daughter. Whether she is blood related or not, you are trying to use this as an excuse because you have these feelings for her that you shouldn't have. And I don't think he thought about it this like rationally like this. He was just letting things, his heart lead his way, that he had this crush on her and that he's madly in love with her and he can't have her, and it's tormenting him and it's eating him alive and he needs to do something about it, so he's trying to get it off his chest. But this is your daughter. Like, I'm sorry to tell you that, but you should not have these feelings for her. This is definitely not something that you should pursue. So this guy says, you know, I also have a crush on Norma, and what I can do is I can marry her, I can take her far away from here, and then you cannot have to think about her ever again. Now, Sisyph doesn't want to do this. He says, no, like, I can't have her away from me. I need her here. The guy says, okay, well then I'm going to tell her everything you told me, and she's going to be totally weirded out and grossed out by you and never want to see you again anyway. Sisyph eventually agrees to let this happen, and she eventually agrees to marry this guy. So she goes off and she marries him later on in the movie, but it's not a happy marriage. She doesn't like him, she doesn't love him, she doesn't want to be with him, she just agrees to do this. Now, later in the movie, Ellie learns that Norma is not his biological sister, and he gets mad and he approaches Sisyph and he says, like, why didn't you ever tell us this? I could have pursued her romantically because we are not actually blood related. And to that I say, no, you couldn't have, because she is your sister. It's such a weird, like, they really hammer home this idea in this movie that since she is not blood related, she is fair game for anyone. Anyone, even though she knows in her heart that this is her family, the only family she's ever had. I have to keep reiterating this to myself. This is the only family she's ever had. There is absolutely no way in my mind that she is going to have any romantic relationships with any of these people. Though there is hints later on in the movie that maybe she does have a crush on Ellie, but it never transpires. Anyway, he gets very mad, never forgives his father ever, like for the rest of his life, never forgives him for this because he feels like this was his one chance at true love to like court his sister and be with his sister, and like that's the opportunity that he missed. Now, later on in the movie, Abel, like he goes insane. Not Abel, sorry. Sisyph goes insane a few times, and he tries to crash his train that he has. There's a lot of really cool scenes where there's like really chaotic cut scenes. I think this movie is known for like its chaotic use of its camera and the way it changes scenes really fast and its lighting effects and stuff. It does a really fantastic job of just creating chaos and trying to see into the mind of Sisyph and like the chaos and the frustration and the just the push and pull that's going on in his head, and you're seeing it through like this fast weaving and driving locomotive that's kind of careening through the town, through the city. He does this a few times, and there's a point where he crashes this train that he's driving, and he's ends up getting punished for it. But since he was like this great engineer and he worked at this train company for such a long time, they don't like fire him, they just demote him and they send him up to the Alps where he has to like drive this rink-a-dink train like 10,000 feet in the air in the mountains. And of course Ellie goes with him because Ellie is still trying to get this varnish company off the ground, and he can't support himself, and he's still very angry at his father for what his father did. Ellie eventually decides to send a letter to, I think he ends up getting the varnish off the ground, and the varnish becomes very famous, very popular. So he ends up like starting to sow the seeds of becoming a rich entrepreneur like he wanted to, and he ends up like making this violin or something, and it's basically a love letter to Norma, and he sends it to her, and her husband finds it, and after he finds it, he comes to confront Ellie, and they have this big epic fight scene on top of the Alps in which they eventually both kill each other. So there's gonna be spoilers here, but this movie's from 1923, and it's also really impossible to find anywhere. I found one copy of it with English subtitles, and I felt very lucky that I found just one copy of it because it is very, very hard to find. But they end up killing each other, and after they do this, even before they do this, Norma tries to make several trips to this cabin that they're in, and she tries to make several trips to come see Sisyph and Ellie, and Sisyph is always like very much, you ruined our family, get out of here, we never want to see you again, you're a black sheep of the family, you've ruined us. He never tells her why. He just like berates her and belittles her, tells her like, I don't want to see you ever again, and it's of course because he can't see her without having these feelings for her, but she of course has done nothing except for absolutely love this family unconditionally, be there for them whenever they need to be there. Like she is caught up in this weird feelings that her two family members have for her, and she doesn't know why, but she never really questions it, and she just continues to love her family unconditionally while they have these weird feelings for her that they shouldn't be having. So eventually, there is an accident that happens in the Alps in which Sisyph goes blind, and he slowly goes blind throughout like the second half of the movie. This movie is split up into two halves. The first half is like 2.5 hours. The second half is like an hour and 45 minutes. So the movie is over 4 hours long. And he eventually slowly goes blind. And after Ellie dies, he just goes even more into this black like malaise where he's just so depressed and hating himself, and he ends up getting a dog named Toby, and because Ellie's not there to help provide for him, and because he's going blind, he's not able to work as much as he did before. He starts to become very poor. He becomes poverty stricken, and he has a very hard time surviving. Now Norma, after her husband is killed by Ellie, she also falls into poverty because they said in the movie that there was some weird mix-up or with the will, the last will and testament, where she didn't get any of the money, or there was some infighting or arguments or something where she didn't get any of the money, so she's also like poor and destitute. And after her dad ends up going blind. She sees him. She goes over to visit him. She realizes that he's blind. So she realizes that she can take care of him in this house without him ever knowing about it because he can't see her. So she's constantly like cleaning the house. She like lives in part of the house, like a little loft of the house, and she helps him paint it, and she helps take care of him without him knowing. Until one day she makes herself known. For fear, she's afraid that she's going to get kicked out of the house because that's all he's ever done is kick her out of his life. And she's there for him. She says, "Look, Papa, I'm here. Like, I want to help you." And he's at the end of his life now, and he finally accepts her into his life, and they actually live like a pretty nice father-daughter life until he finally does pass away. And that's basically the end of the movie, is when he passes away. Now, I am clearly very much against how she is treated in this movie because, as I've said a million times already, this is his daughter. He is treating her very badly. She does not deserve what she's getting. I think that the relationship they're trying to have with her is very weird. I don't think that they should not consider her family, because she is family. Even though she's not blood related, she is just as much family as anyone else. She's been with them since she was a toddler. That's all she knows. It's all the family she knows. They were there for her. He provided for her. He took her in as a daughter, not as a young wife, not as a young girlfriend. He knew the responsibility he was doing when he took her in, or at least he should have. And he really, I mean, sure, like the first part, I don't know how he treated her as a child. I'm assuming she had a great upbringing and a great childhood, but the last half of her life, he definitely treated her very poorly, and they all suffered. Ellie suffered because of his feelings for her and because of the torment that he had of not being able to be with her. Sissif suffered for the same reason, though a little bit different, because he is the father, he is the provider, he is like the one who has to go to work every day and deal with these issues and deal with these problems. None of them have any outlets to talk to anyone or get any help or have any conversations. They don't talk with each other about it. They just keep these feelings bottled up inside of them. And this movie, I think, champions the fact of having someone to talk to, having an outlet, getting therapy maybe. Besides that, this movie is very deep. The acting is amazing. The cinematography is great. The set pieces are fantastic. I really love the raw emotions that these people are feeling, and the way the emotions are just dripping on the screen. Even though I don't champion what they are doing, the emotions that they're showing, that they're feeling, that they're going through, you can really feel the anguish. You can feel the heartache. You are anguished with Norma. I was feeling Norma's pain throughout this entire movie. I could feel Sissa's pain too, but like I wasn't really concerned about his that much. But you can really feel the suffering that these people are going through. And even, I mean, it's just amazing how touching and moving and thought-provoking this movie is. It is so good. I'll also say that the first half of the movie I thought was better than the second half. The second half dragged a little bit. The stuff where the daughter's hiding in the house and all that, it's touching that they were able to have their final moment together, that they were actually able to be father and daughter again, that he accepted her into his life. I just felt like it went on a little long. It wasn't as compelling as definitely the first 3 hours of this movie, which were completely compelling, which really dragged you in. For a 4.5 hour movie, it's really hard to keep that attention. It's really hard to keep you on really emotionally invested into 3 characters at once, I feel like. But this movie did a really great job of it. I really, at the end of the day, just because I don't agree with part of what the movie is saying, that doesn't mean that it's not a great movie. It is a fantastic movie. I am really glad, I'm happy that I watched it. I will probably remember this movie forever. This is just one of those movies that sticks in your head, that when you think about silent films, this is going to be the ones that I always will remember. I'll always think about. I'll always recommend to people if they can stomach a 4.5 hour silent film. But I give this movie a 9.5. I really did think it was good. Now, My next movie is going to be a Russian propaganda film, which I feel like every time I say a Russian film, it usually is a Russian propaganda film. It's called The Strike, I think, or just Strike. It is also a silent film. I'm assuming it's not about bowling, but that would be great if it was. And that is going to be next. I have a lot going on this weekend, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get another review out by before the middle of next week, but I'll do my best. Anyway, this movie's a 9.5 out of 10. I hope you join me for my next review.